What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with a little vlog, kind of an update, because I know I've been away for a while. I just finished watching Luke Cage, and I'm a little bit disappointed. It was kind of corny and like just all over the place, and I think I'll give you a proper review of it maybe at the end of this video. But anyway, here's the update. So a lot of stuff's been going on. We had some weddings to go to, a lot of craziness at work, so things have been a little bit busy. I left my old job and went back to doing security, private security. So being in charge of such a thing, you have a lot of variables, you know. So, you know, the big thing is people have been, I've had a guy quit, so I've had to do extra work, find extra people, etc., etc. But anyway, work's been busy. But cool stuff. I got the whole crew of the turtles right here. Come on, guys. Clear up so we can see it. Put some light on these bad boys so y'all can see them. Let's see if I get in the proper range. I hate that. But anyway, look at Michelangelo. Raphael, he's holding his head because he just watched Luke Cage with me. Donatello. And Leonardo. I love this face. And as you can see with him and Raph, I started putting the spots and I started kind of airbrushing their chests so they'll be a little bit better paint because they have no paint on them. It's kind of weird. So like all the little details that make them look like the turtles, I mean the basic sculpt is there, but the paint is not, so I'm trying to add to them. But I love them. They're pretty awesome. They finally got the individual faces right. I mean, look at Leonardo with the really like beady eyes, you know, and the contemplative face. And then Donatello, the shape of his face, he had weird lips and a big old mouth and stuff, you know, and they got it right, you know. But anyway, I got him. On my birthday, I got Terry Bogard. What else do I have? I think I told you guys I got this sad ass figure. That's the one I had before, and this is the one Hasbro made. This is a bootleg Fearless Forces figure. Anyway, the review is coming for them. I don't want to get into too much detail. I still have all these guys back here. Oh, I picked him up. And then of course I got these guys that have been back here since forever. But look at this bad boy right here. I put him up on the the Facebook page. I think I put him up on my regular Facebook page or one of the sites I'm on or pages I'm on in Facebook. But this is the KBB version, the downsized MP10, and I love it. It's perfect. So I'm gonna be reviewing him. I'm gonna be reviewing this bad boy right here. I'm gonna be reviewing John Matrix right here. I'm gonna be reviewing Leonidas. I've had him for a grip and I don't know why I didn't do that review. I'm gonna be reviewing Heroes of the Storm figures. That's Ghost. I've got the Lich King, and I've got Toriel. And I have a Godzilla figure to review. This is from the newer movie that came out not too long ago. And I have Samurai Spawn. Got him at the convention, the collector's convention that I went to with ODC, That's Me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I want to do a review of this bad boy right here. This is one of my favorite versions of Thor ever. So I gotta do that. Oh, So I'd like to give a shout out to my homeboy G.I. Joe 4157. He sent me a Cobra Rage. So now I have two. Shortly after he sent me that one, I found another one on eBay. The difference is his was complete in the box, and the one I found on eBay was not complete. It did not have the Alley Viper officer. It was just the vehicle and the parts, you know, to put it all together. But either way, thank you, brother. I actually have been looking for one of these, so now I've got another one for my motor pool. And this one came with the Alley Viper officer. And, well, let's look at him for a little bit.
just won't focus, and I hate that. It's constantly a problem with this camera. It's probably my shitty lighting. That's what it is. But anyway, he sent me this bad boy. He's unfocused, I know, but you will be seeing a review. The review will be focused. This is just that on-the-spot type shit that I always do. And let's get Prime out the way. And he sent me another goodie that I never saw in the wild. It was the Alley Viper from G.I. Joe Resolute, which is pretty dope. I never saw this guy out in the wild. I've always wanted one, and now I have every version of Alley Viper that is of note, in my opinion. It's a pretty dope figure. Thank you so much for this. I was not expecting anything extra, you know what I mean? So, thank you. It just makes me happy, really, when this stuff happens. But this guy is definitely, I think I'm going to make him the driver for the Rage, and just, you know, make him a regular, you know, like a specialized Cobra Viper as opposed to a Alley Viper. And the same thing with the Officer. I might put a Shock Trooper helmet on him, change his head, and just make him a heavier trooper. Because in my universe, there's only one Alley Viper. He's very special, very special. But, you know, this kind of stuff makes me happy because it's like, my ninjas, we talk about paying it forward, and we talk about, you know, helping out fellow collectors and such, and, you know, here it is actually in motion. This is the way it's supposed to be, you know? Yeah, I know there's a lot of crap around. The place is mostly clean, but let me show you what I picked up. I picked up this bunch of bats. Yeah, it's the Cobra Bat Attack 6-pack with Overkill. Now, I always dug these designs because it's variations of the bat. I was never really big on the standard bats, but I have, I think, 2 regular ones, and then, you know, I have a jungle bat and then a regular one, and then I have these guys. So it's like so many versions of the bat squad. I just dig the way they look. I dig the fact that they have the green that reminds me of the nanomachines from Rise of Cobra. I dig the fact that Overkill just looks crazy. I mean, they all look crazy. I mean, look at this guy. Those goat legs. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that big old gun arm. Like, look at that shit, man. Like, that's pretty serious. So that's something that you can expect to see a review of pretty soon. I was really happy about that. I also managed to, and I don't know if you saw this in ODC, that's me's video about the collectors convention. I picked up the rest of the Dreadnoks, so I have all of the Dreadnoks with the exception of Monkey Wrench. And then you can see Zartan's back there somewhere.
Oh, Cobra Commander. Pursuit of Cobra, Cobra Commander. Love that figure. So there's a lot for me to, let me get back to the station so I can show you, I can talk. We'll focus on Prime because he's a beautiful figure, and the light loves him and the camera loves him, and I'm so glad to finally have a Masterpiece Prime again because, ooh, it's been a long time. Been a real long time. Anywho, that does not look right. Let's try this again. Yeah, I haven't had a Prime, you know, for a while, a Masterpiece style one that I'm super proud of, you know. So it makes me happy to finally have one. And there we go. Look at that. Look at how pretty that is. Prime looking like a G. So yeah, I got that going on, and I've got a bunch of other stuff that I have kind of mixed up. Oh, you know what? I need to move all the way over here and show you what Anthony hooked me up with. ODC, that's me. Hopefully you can see him. Mythic Legions, homie. Actually, I'm gonna bring him out into the light. Maybe we'll leave the camera on him. Oh, that's one of the issues I have with them. Ugh. But sorry for all the moving around. Let's focus on him for a second. I was planning on making him my mascot, so he would be, when I talk, you know, as I'm Strident, that's who you see. But I need a little bit more imaginative looking armor, because all the knights in Mythic Legions have this armor. But Anthony and I were taking the plunge, talking about taking the plunge. He wholesale took the plunge. He's already got a shitload of the figures, and I still don't, because I'm not as impressed with them as he is. Typically I don't get that impressed by figures unless they do more than my imports. And this guy does not do more than my import figures, so I'm not impressed. You know, a lot of these Mythic Legions figures are going for some really insane prices, and they're essentially retail figures that just look a little bit better than your standard retail figures. And it bothers me that people are falling for this. But on the flip side, they are really cool. I have done the review for him. I just got to get it up. That's what she said. Hey, I just got to get it up online for you guys. He is a cool figure. Lots of good detail, lots of cool weapons, and their gimmick is that they're modular. So you can pull off the head, you can pull off the feet, the legs, the this, the that. You can move stuff and switch them around. So I'm really happy about that. I will probably be getting another one, you know, or two of them, something like that. He fits in good with the sword and sandals type guys I have. I mean, look, here's the Lich King, and they look like they could be from the same line, you know what I'm saying? So I dig those guys. I dig them. I'm not blown away 100%, but I think they're really good figures. I just hate when figure lines get overhyped to the umpteenth degree. It kills it, because then when you get it, it can't possibly stand up to the hype that's been created. I think a lot of people are being a little bit too lenient on those guys, because I mean, when you have figures like, I'm gonna move over here, show you, there's my wall of random awesome epic code names for characters that you will see in my shorts, which there are some coming. But anyway, when you have characters like Garo back there, or like Saber 2.0, it's hard to be, or shit, even Kamen Rider Knight and Knight Survive, you know, and any of these knights, you know, from Ryuki and such. It's really hard to be blown away by just, you know, kind of a regular knight with a nice pattern, a nice color palette, you know what I'm saying? And this is my big problem with them. The handle is huge, so it stretches out their hands. So when you want them to hold something like their sword, they have problems doing so. And I don't like that. That bothers me immensely. So, Mythic Legions, that's Mythic Legions. But yeah, I have been very busy. Been a little stressed. I've been going through some things art-wise, you know, with my motivation. Fighting artist block, which happens from time to time. It's just annoying when it does happen, because you don't want to be slowed up, you know. And I know how to draw even when I'm in a block, but it's been pretty bad as of late. So I'm working on some new things, some old stuff too. I was kind of disappointed with the what I'd been seeing with the Mayfex figures, the Mayfex BVS figures, so I canceled my pre-orders for those, with the exception of Wonder Woman. I'm still trying to figure out if I should just take a leap and get at least one of them. I also canceled my SH Figuarts Ultraman because I saw how small he was. And I knew he was going to be smaller, but something just was like, just wait a little bit and find him on your, you know, your hookup site for cheaper. And I kind of think that's what I'll do. I mean, he's not that expensive, but I'll wait. But yeah, that's really it. That's what's going on, you know. Been really busy, been working on some things. There's some figures I did not show you that I'm going to review. I'll move over there, show you some of that. Ugh. I got some vehicles too. I got Cherno Alpha. I got him at the convention. And I got Gypsy Danger. This is Ultimate Gypsy Danger. I think you might have seen him in or her in the ODC That's Me. He did a video in my man cave showing you guys what I have. I'm like, dude, chill out. Back there I have my favorite, which is, well, my favorite is Cherno Alpha. My second favorite is Striker Eureka, and that's Striker Eureka in the background. Now, yes, there have been issues at the arm, but overall, this is a way better figure than the Series 1, what's his name? Gypsy Danger. I still have Terminator figures to review. I still have this to review. And I have him to review. And there are other figures in there that I will review, that I will get to eventually. But anyway, that is the heads up. That's what's going on. That is the update. Stay tuned to our Facebook page. It's just Strident, you know, on Facebook. Trying to think if there's anything else. I'm going to be putting up some more artwork up on my DeviantArt page, something that I've been trying to get away from. I'm actually looking for an alternative to DeviantArt, so I will be moving to a different channel at some point, a different DeviantArt channel, and I might be putting up my artwork, a lot of artwork and art-related things on YouTube, just so that we can have, you know, visibility, because that's one of the things that's lacking these days. But other than that, you've seen all this stuff. I'm going to try to pick and choose what I'm going to review, and then I'm going to move the other stuff out of the way, and then we're going to get on with stuff, you know. I need to slow down because I think I've been pretty fortunate the last couple months finding things that I was looking for. Like when I found the Turtles, I bought Donatello the week after ODC left from coming to visit, and then a couple days ago I found the other three. Actually, it was last week. Found the other three. All together, same place. I didn't even have to run around. So when I tell you, don't pay those prices, don't pay the prices. I spent 80 bucks altogether. 80. There's people selling these motherfuckers who are in the store right now for 200 bucks a piece. No added paint, no added details, no added accessories, nothing. It's the same shit you can find in the store. So, you know, it just goes to show you, if you wait, you will find stuff. Oh, I do have something else to show you. Oh, let's see. I picked up another SIC. A very beautiful SIC. Not that they aren't all pretty much beautiful. Kamen Rider 1. Ichigo. I love this figure. Love it. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to enjoy this guy. He's going to be awesome. Staring at this guy standing up. The extra head that he comes with. Ooh, fuck. Shit is amazing. But look at this guy. Awesome. He's like pure superhero, you know, beefed up superhero mode. I love it. Anyway, that's pretty much it. So, look out for the next couple reviews. I'm gonna have a lot of stuff going on, and that's really it, really. So
now it's time for us to jump on to what I said I probably would do, which is my kind of overview, review, thoughts, feelings on Netflix Nick Cage. Nick Cage, wow, Luke Cage, holy shit. Anyway, all right, Luke Cage. So I'm not a huge fan of Power Man. I know a lot about the character. I've read a lot of his books, because back in the day, it was one of the books I could find kind of on a pretty regular basis. Starting with the 90s stuff, when he looked kind of like Mike Tyson with the black jacket and the Caesar and all that shit, before he went straight up bald like 95% of the black men in the Marvel Universe. But a lot of this story pulls from things that happened in the 90s, you know, series. The overall themes, you know, especially with, you know, the type of street level crime, the fact that he was fighting Diamondback's suit, all of that shit. The series it's not terrible. It's just that they played it so unimaginatively. Like Jesus, Luke Cage usually fights some of the same shit that the bigger characters fight. It's just he's fighting them confined to the street. You know what I mean? Confined to, like, against the backdrop of New York, regular New York. I mean, Spider-Man does too, but Spider-Man sometimes is elevated because the problems take him out of New York sometimes. They take him into SHIELD territory and blah, 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 and it gets crazy. But that's the same thing with Luke Cage. Luke Cage actually is an Avenger. Now, I get that in this story, this is pre-Avengers, pre-SHIELD, pre-all that stuff. This is him just figuring out what his purpose is. And I like that. You know, origin stories aren't bad. And you know, like the next Netflix series, they're typically going to be like the beginnings of each of these characters. And I dig that. My problem is that they had him fighting regular thugs for the majority of the series. And this guy could have murked all of them. There were lapses in logic. There were a lot of things that just didn't make sense. Like, you've seen it before where, in movies without superheroes, where the main character, the hero of the story, he takes out the main drug boss or the main villain or the murderer or whatever. Excuse me. And he's given a pardon for whatever his issues may have been, his transgressions from the past, whatever. He's given a pardon because he did something that was a big deal that the police couldn't do. In this, Luke does all kinds of shit. I mean, he takes out whole gangs, takes out, you know, drug dealers, takes out pimps and blah, blah, blah. You know, like some of the worst people in Harlem, and he gets no props for it. I mean, the people eventually start giving him props, but I'm saying, like, on a government level, he still ends up, you know, let me just say, you guys already know, I've said this in so many of my thoughts videos and my reviews. I spoil shit. So if you don't want it to be spoiled, then you can leave. And, you know, this is the end of the video for you. If you want to continue and you want me to do what I normally do, this is where I do what I normally do. So there will be spoilers. That's as much warning as I'm going to give. At the end of the series, he ends up getting carted off to go to prison because he escaped the Seagate prison in Georgia, and they're still holding him accountable for it, even though he just saved hundreds of thousands of people in Harlem. You know, and he did it the right way. You know, he put all the evidence out there. He testified, blah, 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 blah. He gave them all the information. He literally took care of years of police work in a couple of nights, you know, a month or so. It doesn't make sense. The way his powers were dealt with, his strength, they got that off. The bulletproof skin and the way his muscles work, they were so inconsistent with that shit. He gets shot with these special bullets they have. They're called Judas bullets. Essentially, they're exploding bullets. They're like the RIP bullets that exist in real life. Look them up. They hit the target, they embed in the target, and then they explode. So this thing exploded in his gut, and Rosario Dawson tried to cut around the skin so she could get in and pull out the shrapnel. And his skin has the same properties, the interior skin, the flesh on the inside, has the same properties as his bulletproof skin on the outside. So if this is the case, bullets shouldn't hurt him. You know what I mean? Because his skin is harder than that. Yet in the show, when they feel like it, bullets hurt him. His fights with Diamondback up until he puts on the special suit, Diamondback doesn't have any powers, but Diamondback is constantly hurting him. I mean, Diamondback hit him in the wound that the night nurse could not cut through, and he felt it. And it's like, what? Diamondback doesn't have any powers. There's parts in their fights, especially that very first fight, where Diamondback should have been dead. Like, he gets tackled through a wall. He gets thrown through double doors into a wall. Like, 50 feet, maybe 100 feet away from where he was thrown. He gets punched and sent flying, and he doesn't die. Yet later on in the series, he will use gear. Diamondback will use gear that will allow his punch to have the effect of a superhuman punching a regular person. And those people are dying. It's just really lazy writing. Not to mention the presentation of the show. I dig a lot of the music in the show. Especially, I dig Adrian Young's style. I dig it. But it doesn't fit for this. There's times where something tense would be going on, and then you have this generic, wah, 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 like fucking sad sounding music, that fucking Mo Better Blues type shit playing when it needs to be hyped up because the scene is tense. Even if it's not traditional strings and synth and shit, you still need to show us and give us the you need to convey that emotion, tenseness. That's what we need, instead of that shit that's just black for the sake of being black. And a lot of the movie or the series feels like that to me. I know a lot of people don't have a problem with it, and if they do, they're being real PC and they're keeping it to themselves. So, props to you that you can do that. I can't. The opening theme is dope. The beginning of, I think it's either 3 or 5, Jidenna's Long Live the Chief, fucking killed it. That shit was raw. I watched that episode a couple times just because of the intro. It was raw. Jidenna, and I know that's an older track because it's been out for a while, but it's like I forgot all about it. Maybe the first time I heard it, I don't think I actually listened to the whole song. And then I listened to the whole song here in, in Luke Cage, and I was blown the fuck away. Like, damn. So, one awesome thing came out of the music. There are scenes where when people are talking, the background music is dope. The musical guests on almost every episode is pretty dope. But the score for the show, the movie, the series music, not the guest stars, not the music that already existed that they use for the scenes, like the Wu-Tang stuff for this scene and shit like that. Nah. I'm talking about the music Adrian Young scored for the film. Some of it is so out of place that it just doesn't fit. And then honestly, blaxploitation sound, like the style, doesn't fit this. It's not the 70s anymore. You know what I mean? If the portion of the story that took place when he first got arrested and then broke out of Seagate, if that had the music, which even in that, I think they moved the time period forward. So he got arrested only a couple years back. It's within the last decade. So the whole blaxploitation shit should have fell to the wayside, or you should have done some new RJD2 sounding type shit where it's the rhythm, the sample is like some 1970s blaxploitation shit, but the beat is a modern beat. You know what I mean? You've scratched it up, you've cut it up, you've added things to it to make it sound modern, but it's got that old school flavor to it. That would have made sense, but they just wholesale went in the most generic direction you could go. Yeah, black dude, let's throw rap music and blaxploitation music, and then talk. Every other monologue is about the heart and soul of Harlem and blah. Come on, man, there's more to this whole story than just bigging up Harlem every episode. Like, we get it, And I'm from Brooklyn. So this isn't like me saying some shit and I have no idea what Harlem is like. When I went to the School of Visual Arts, a lot of times there were events that we had to go to that, involving, different local artists, because, it's New York. Art is everywhere. And we would go to Harlem a lot. Harlem, Soho, Chelsea. That's like what we did. So I'm not dissing Harlem. Don't get me wrong. Harlem is cool. It's definitely a nice, eclectic mix of people, art, music, everything. But it's the backdrop to this show. So instead of focusing so hard on getting that right and making like a love letter to Harlem, how about you focus on Luke Cage? You know what I mean? Get him right. Get his whole shtick right. You fucked up with his powers, which a lot of people didn't say anything about that, but they were inconsistent as fuck with the powers. I told you this about Jessica Jones. Her powers were real inconsistent too. She'd get roughed up by like 3 or 4 guys in one episode. Then in another episode, she'd be throwing 10 guys around like it was nothing. Or she's overpowering Luke Cage. And it's like, where did you get that from? You know what I mean? Like, what source material were you reading where she was overpowering Luke Cage? She's not that strong. You know what I mean? I will say that Mike Coulter is perfect as Luke Cage. The whole, like number one, he's darker than what you typically get for your headlining black heroes. Number two, he doesn't even speak the way everybody else does. He sounds intelligent. He delivers his lines like an adult. You know, he's not trying to be cool or anything. And I dig that. At times he tends to overact, though, where it's just like you can tell he's reading something. And that was a problem I had with a lot of the performances in this show. Especially him and Misty Knight, man. Misty Knight, as dope as she was. Man, that girl, what was her name? Mythic, something Mythic. She is fine. And especially that last shot of her when her hair's all teased out and all froed up. Good God Almighty, that woman is fine. I like the fact that this was one of those shows that was unapologetic about having a predominantly brown cast. And they had like Hispanic people, black people. They didn't shy away from having white people in there as well. This is what I was talking about when I complained about the way typically that people of color are portrayed or not portrayed in a lot of modern media. If you're in New York, remember I brought up Friends in that video, and someone sat there and argued with me and argued with me and argued with me, and I don't even think he was from the same fucking country. But he argued and argued and argued and argued. He may not even live near the East Coast, you know, so he doesn't know. But New York is a melting pot. You can't really go anywhere and not see a mixture. Even the thugs are multicultural. You know what I mean? Like, it's everything is multicultural. The police force, multicultural. The fire department, multicultural. Every single store on the block, you've got Asian people. And when I say Asian, I mean you got some Chinese, you got some Korean, you got some Japanese, some Taiwanese, some Thai. You got a mixture of everything. Hispanic, you got tons of people from Spanish-speaking countries. Tons. Freaking Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Costa Ricans. You got tons of Hispanic people, and you have tons of brown people from all over the world. You know what I mean? You've got people from India. You've got brown people from the quote unquote Golden Triangle area, Malaysia. From Thailand, from all over the place. You've got people from the African countries. You've got your European folks like your Polish and your Russian and your Italians and some people from Greece. You've got it all. So seeing that, when you see a group of people on this show, you see everybody. It's not just because the main characters happen to be black that no one else is represented. They got that off. And to be honest, Marvel's gotten that off in all of their films, because the majority of the films, like the Avengers, takes place in New York. Spider-Man takes place in New York. Blade, parts of Blade took place in New York. So it's like they've always made New York this really lively character where you see people of all backgrounds all getting some screen time, all getting attention. I think that's dope. That's the way it should be. But you got that right, and then like Luke Cage doesn't actually deal with a lot of super criminals, and that's what sucked. They dodged all the heroes for hire stuff. They mention it, and that seems to be enough to get the majority of you guys happy. But Luke Cage's whole shtick was, I do this for money, even though he wouldn't always collect because the situation would show him a different side of what he was hoping to make money off of. So his business is not that it's not as successful as it should be. He has a lot of business. He just doesn't get paid for it. In this show, they talk to him. They have him go do stuff. But the heroes for hire portion is completely thrown the fuck out. Now, if they do a season 2 and they go into that would be awesome. People in the show, though, they mention being a hero for hire. They mention getting paid for your services. They mention, you know, that he would make a good amount of money if he went out there and did this like the rest of the heroes do. But he dodges it, which is cool. It shows you his character is a little different from the rest of them. But at the same time, Luke was an enterprising type of dude. He realized, like, he's angry enough at his situation, or frustrated with his situation enough, that he was like, fuck it, if this is all I can do with these powers that I didn't want to begin with, this is what I'm gonna do. You know? The choreography. Every now and then, Luke would do, you know, he would stomp some dudes, and it would be interesting to see some of what he could do. There's a section where they show that while he was in prison, he was involved in a prison fighting tournament type situation or circuit, and he was really good at it. And then they explain here and there, if you listen to his dialogue, he talks about being a cop, and before that, being a soldier, being in the military, force recon. So, like, dude has skills. Every other movie, every other show you've ever watched, especially in the last 10 years, when they say ex-military, they give you, that's open license for them to be all kinds of badass, because they make the military always, you know, look extra awesome, especially in comics and shit. It's like shorthand for badass. You're in the military. Oh, so he's a badass. He's got hands and feet. He can do it all. You know what I mean? He can handle a gun, but like it's perfect. When in reality, you know, that's not everybody. That's a lot, or a good chunk. You know what I mean? But it's not that many that are sick with it like that. You know, there's specialized people that do that. But, you know, they went and they told you this. Then when you watch him fight, he's just slapping people, or he's throwing people, or, you know, when he's in a fight that really would involve it, like when he's fighting Diamondback at the end, it's very, like, the choreography was just ass, man. It was like no creativity. You know, there were shots where they were, like, elbowing and kneeing each other in slow motion, like in real time. So it's as if they said action, and instead of putting their all into it to make it look real, they're slowly kneeing each other or punching at each other so that they don't hurt each other. And it's like, come on, guys, choreography means something. It actually helps sell that these characters are, you know, whatever it is you're telling us that they are. Now, I would rate this show at the bottom of the list when it comes to the Netflix stuff, even though I hated Jessica Jones. Matter of fact, nah, I take that back. I still hate Jessica Jones. I would put this right above Jessica Jones. But I will say that Jessica Jones was a little tighter as far as the way the show was written. The characters stayed in character, you know, and they were consistent with a lot of things, more so than in Luke Cage. Fucking Diamondback was one of the most generic villains. It was like that Marvel villain curse. Marvel villains are extremely generic outside of, like, Spider-Man's villains, you know? They haven't really shown you one on screen yet, next to maybe, I take that back, Spider-Man and Deacon Frost. They're the most charismatic sets of villains that Marvel has had, you know, on film. Most of their villains are real generic, man. They really just, it's always a revenge plot, you know, always. It's always some generic-ass revenge plot, you know, or misdirected vengeance, where they're pissed off at something that the hero actually had nothing to do with, so I'm going to attack the hero because he's who I see right now. And that's pretty whack. Diamondback had horrible dialogue. A lot of the dialogue in this was really cheesy, because you could tell that, once again, it was kind of like they were purposefully going after cliches, and instead of going after them and breaking them down, they reinforced them. The first shit that comes out of Chico's mouth when he's doing what he shouldn't be doing is, "My dad hadn't been around since I was 9, and you ain't," or what do you say? "Your name ain't blah blah blah," which was his dad's name, and he ain't been around since I was 9. Like, really, all black dudes don't grow up without their parents. But yet, here we go again. It's a solidified stereotype. I mean, I get it. There's a lot that do, but that's not everybody. Even if they say it, even if they hate their dad, some of their dads stayed around and didn't do them dirty. The dad could have just not been the perfect dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's frustrating to see this on a regular basis. I know there's kids from, like, the kids my age, people my age, that were kids in the 90s and grew up afterwards. That's when this thing got out of hand. But it's not all of us, you know? But they solidified another stereotype. I'm like, yay, here we go. I'm gonna whoop your ass, Luke Cage. Your ass is mine. I'm gonna tear your ass apart, motherfucker. Like, it was like, really? Really? And they're quoting the Bible and the blah, blah, blah. Like, really? This is really generic. Cottonmouth. I should have mentioned Cottonmouth earlier. Cottonmouth, it seemed like they just put the name in there to put the name in there. Because he really wasn't the Cottonmouth. He wasn't either of the Cottonmouths from the comics. I mean, there were some things they tied together, but overall, he felt like Nino Brown 2.0, but he wasn't as raw as Nino Brown. You know what I mean? Like, Nino Brown could have come out of this story alive, whereas this guy definitely doesn't. But his performance was dope. He was believable. He was layered. Yeah, man, I was like, okay, cool. But you know, overall, the pitfalls to this is that in the comic books, Luke Cage's world is a lot more fantastical. You know, like, it's Harlem, but there's this fantastical side to it where shit that would never in real life ever possibly happen. This is what he deals with, you know? And it's almost as though the writers are ashamed of that heritage and they do everything they can to dumb it down. And, you know, I was talking to one of my homeboys earlier today, and we were talking about the fact that there is this problem with modern cinema, especially with superheroes, that they've built up this demographic, this audience, that since the newer James Bond films and since Batman Begins, since it started there, they started dumbing down superhero stuff. You know, it should be fantastical, but instead it's been simplified to the point where it's just kind of like a little bit out of the ordinary, but it's like they simplified it for those people who completely buy the Nolan trilogy and completely buy, you know, a James Bond that acts and looks like the damn Punisher or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, they took the fantastical out of the fantastical. Yes, they have super strength, but they go about explaining it in a different kind of way that's like really scientific, so that you can feel like, oh, it's possible, it could happen. And then you dumb down the limits when it suits them. They dumb it down. Like the suit that Diamondback wears, number one, the design was terrible. It was real cheap looking. Number two, you weren't consistent. It absorbed the impact of bullets, but it didn't absorb the punches from Luke Cage. Please, like, come on. That's simple right there, you know? Things like Jessica Jones and her flight. Like, you see her fly because she'll just jump off screen and then she just drops in somewhere else. But if they actually showed her flying, it would separate her completely from Luke Cage and from Daredevil and from Iron Fist, because you're seeing her do something physically that it defies the laws of gravity. That's flight. You know, that's superhuman flight. Is you have no wings, yet you can fly. You know, you're propelling yourself with your own power. You know, it's not like something is helping you do it. Whereas in all these, they shy around those things, and they need to not do that. Like Luke Cage, bullets bounce off of him. You got to have some really powerful shit to really hurt him or make him feel it. It's like Superman, you know? But instead, they want to make him more down to earth, more grounded. They had him sometimes feeling it, you know, when he gets shot. And I'm like, just get that shit out of here. You don't need that, you know? And then when it's suited them, he didn't even react to getting shot. So it's like, if you're going to put some details into the series, you got to be a lot more consistent. I know this thoughts is all over the place because, you know, this is kind of how I felt when I was watching it. It took me 2 tries to actually start and finish. I watched the first 5, then I stopped, and then a week later I watched the last 8 episodes. Rosario Dawson was dope. She's always dope. She is dope. She's the one woman that my wife needs to look out for. I told her. I mean, I know that it's an impossibility. But I told my wife, I was like, Rosario Dawson, if I ever come across Rosario Dawson in real life and we go out, I'm sorry. But I gave you the heads up. Rosario Dawson is one of the dopest, like to me. I know other people have their, their picks. She's a dope actress. She seems like an amazing human being from everything I've ever read about her and heard about her. It almost feels like they tailored Claire to be her, or she's just so good at, acting that she made it her own. You know what I mean? Um, she's an important character because she links all the shows together, um, and then she kind of pushes the characters, a lot of them, to do more, which is dope. You need that. That's really, the best I can say. So the positives are, there are several strong performances. All the diversity was awesome to see. Mike Coulter is pretty much the best. He was the best. Uh, a good choice. I like him as Locke in Halo 5, and I like him as Luke Cage. He's perfect. I want them to work on directing him more in the next set of film or shows or episodes or whatever. Um, Claire was amazing because she's played by Rosario Dawson. Uh, I want the villains to be more out there because Luke Cage is the people he's fought. He's fought some weird ass villains, and you need to make that happen. Uh, he needs to be a little bit more confident and they need to have some imagination in the action. The action was by the numbers as fuck. Nothing stood out. Nothing. Absolutely nothing stood out about the action in this show. And it's like you got a super powered bulletproof dude for your main character and you couldn't come up with more interesting action than what you came up with for this? Like, come on, come the fuck on. I'm really hoping that when Iron Fist comes out, they push what they've been doing and they go off with the martial arts. I want clean, long shots, long fights where you're seeing the one take, or I shouldn't say one take, but a long ass take where you see everything happen from start to finish. Pull back, let the fighters do what they do, and let us marvel at what they do. That's what I want to see. When we get season 2 of Luke Cage, I want to see full scale like fights with some imagination, punch people through walls, uh, get hit by stuff. They did some cool effects with that kind of thing when he was blocking cars and shit like that. That was cool, but I want to see more of the, someone throws a car at Cage and Cage is able to like barrel through it or he catches it. The Power Man shit. I want to see more of that. I want to see him be smart about dealing with people who are using weapons on him. Just because you're bulletproof doesn't mean you have to get shot every time. I really did dig the whole, shot up hoodies becoming like a thing because I mean it's pretty relevant to what's going on these days. The problem is they didn't go all the way. I was expecting for them to go all the way and make complete references to the shit that's going on today with the cops killing all these random brown people, unarmed, unassuming brown people. And they didn't do that. And I guess it's safe, but, I would have thought they would have went there since this is the grimy ass world of it's like the Marvel Knights universe, it's real grimy and dark and, you'd expect them, excuse me, you expect them to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? You'd expect it, but they played it safe and, I understand. So I'm just hoping next time we get more. The problems I had with it was the score was just kind of terrible in some places. The pacing, the bad guys that he was fighting, just the way things were happening just didn't make sense. The fact that he didn't get pardoned by for saving Harlem. The fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't show up at all. It's all stuff that needed to happen. It needed to be seen. We needed to have, some kind of reprieve for the fact that Luke Cage literally, almost single-handedly saved Harlem and much of New York because once the shit got out of hand, it would move up. It would escalate throughout the city. It wouldn't just stay in Harlem. So I'm hoping that, we get the fallout from that and that we get more of the superheroic side, the real superheroic side of this. We get to see heroes for hire, we see cameos of other heroes, working with Cage. And we get, just action that is befitting of a superhero show. I felt like the action in this was so low key that you could have done the same kind of thing with just a regular. It's like those Scott Adkins flicks that you see that show up on Netflix. They're straight to video. You have like a martial artist dude who punches people real hard and they go flying. Not as far as they went flying in Luke Cage, but you know, he's kicking them and they go flying across the screen like the way Bruce Lee would kick folks and they'd go flying, you know? And they're punching people through walls and through glass, you know, windows and tables and shit. Like that kind of thing where you exaggerate the strength of the character as a means to get you hyped during the fights, you know? Just to, it's like shorthand for this motherfucker is really good. It could have been that kind of series, you know? You could have taken the superhero out of it and you would have had the same effect. You know, instead of superpowers, you could just use martial arts and that's what you would have had. So I want them to really go for the gusto and push it and make it crazier so that we understand. You know, don't be afraid. You know, don't act like we're not living in a world where you showed us Thor, the Hulk, Captain America, Spider-Man, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Don't pretend like those guys don't exist. You mention them in the show. Stop pretending like their powers are a crutch or their powers are something that people won't buy. You literally have a Norse god and a fucking green monster jumping around doing all kinds of crazy shit, and you make reference to it in these series. You can go off on a street level kind of way, in a street level setting, and still have the kind of craziness that having superpowers should entail. So anyway, that's my thoughts. This is a long enough video. At first I was going to do 2 separate videos. I might still upload this separately, but you'll get it here first. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say, really. I don't think I'm going to go into doing a review for this because I didn't enjoy it enough to actually sit down and do a long-ass review. But, you know, tell me your thoughts, you know. Like I said, it wasn't all bad. I just don't think it was as good as I was hoping, and it wasn't as good as I was imagining either. So, you know, maybe when Iron Fist wraps, we'll get defenders that is going to take advantage and learn from all the mistakes that all of the things have made, all the separate Netflix shows have made, and just give us the tightest script with the dopest action, because, I mean, you're going to have to facilitate all of it, and everybody's going to have to bring their A game. And so, you know, that's going to be cool to see. So anyway, I'm Strident. This was my thoughts on the Luke Cage Netflix series, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This overall has been my update video, my massive update video, letting you know I'm still here and that the reviews are coming, you know, and they're coming. So anyway, I hope everything is going good with you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. So peace outside.